Hi, I'm Mike Cherniffsky, and you're listening to this podcast is Uncalled For. Welcome to the 5th year anniversary of this podcast is Uncalled For. That's right, 5 years ago to the day that you are first hearing this, we released our very first episode with Pat Lamb. And today's episode is going to be a celebration of the podcast over the past 5 years. We'll have guests returning to the podcast, and I am so excited about that. But unfortunately, before we continue with the festivities, we do have to commemorate today's episode in memory of Stu Cannon. Stu passed away in late February 2024 out of the Houston area. He was a musician, a guitarist and singer, played for some punk rock bands in the area, and dabbled a little bit in rock and some pop. His relationship to the podcast, he was my uncle on my mom's side of the family, and a good illustration of which side of the family I get the creativity from, as well as the height and the male pattern baldness. Uncle Stu, you will be missed.
No, I was looking forward to meeting him, so I do hope he makes it.
Mm-hmm.
I do hope he makes it. Did you imagine when you were starting kind of where it would end up here?
Not really.
Yeah.
but
like from a sustainability perspective, or like just from like a content and what it's kind of evolved to perspective, or both?
a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I mean, there are only so many people that I know, but there's plenty of stuff to talk about. So
infinite things to talk about. Mm-hmm. Literally infinite things to talk about. I actually love how open you are to talking about different things.
Mm-hmm. Yep, as evidenced by our first discussion.
Mm-hmm. Well, and so listening to like the past podcast, which I did with definitely like a higher concentrated effort just recently, but being you are kind. You're a kind person.
Well, thank you.
Oftentimes rather cynical.
Yes.
You have a very dry sense of humor. And those are things that I think are part of what makes your podcast entertaining, right? Mm-hmm. But you're kind. So in some ways, you kind of break the stereotype of dry, cynical people. Mm-hmm. Because oftentimes it's you acknowledge the negative things that you see around you and are comfortable talking about them. But even in conversations that I listen to with people who Just, I mean, it's people are people. This isn't like to pick on the different guests, but they would have just kind of, I will say, like shitty things to say as opposed to like the constructive conversational pieces of it. And you just casually don't engage with that. And you bring it back to like this. Like, we're not sitting here trying to I don't know. It's cool. I learned a lot about you listening to your podcast, which I guess is the idea, right?
That is the idea, yeah. So, yeah, I'll take that. Yeah.
You are good people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So I guess we could talk about a couple of things. This being our 5-year anniversary, and the fact we have over 100 episodes in the can.
Right.
It would be nice to revisit. I don't know if you have a top 10 list of the episodes we've done so far.
I don't have a top 10 list only because most of like the top 10 is also your top 10 list.
Okay.
And so
So we'll just go over my top 10 list.
Yeah, it would be now I mean, the out of any of them, I'm an eternal student and I love learning, and your Football for Swifties episode is definitely my most replayed episode because like it's teaching me about the game of football that I enjoy the sport. I really enjoy the sportsmanship and the camaraderie and like the energy in events correlated to the sport, but I've never really had like a diehard team, and I've never played football myself. And so it's never been anything that I really learned how to understand the game. I just was like, people were like, oh, this is good. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad you're happy. People were like, oh, this is bad. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I haven't had a bad day with that.
Right.
But, being able to, and so I do, it's funny how, like, I like football more now that when I'm watching it, I know it'd be like watching a movie in a foreign language. And you're like, I like the movie. It's got great colors. They seem to have great chemistry, energy. It's a great movie, but I have no idea what they're saying. And then all of a sudden you learn the language and you're like, oh, I really like this movie. Like, did you see that? Like, did you see what the odds are of that? And then it's just a total different, it's a total different engagement.
Well, that's good discussion for. Do you know any languages other than English?
Right. So I took French and Spanish. I certainly would not say that I'm certainly not fluent in any language other than Spanish. Oh my gosh, other than English.
Right.
Spanish, I have learned to understand bits, and I could probably navigate myself to like a restroom.
El baño.
Yes. Yeah.
Está aquí. Yep.
No, it's on my list of things. It's on my list of things to do.
Yeah. So yeah, French, took like half a quarter of it, and not really my thing. But Spanish, I took a few years of that, and it really is a useful language. However, a lot of Spanish speakers do know some English, so it's.
Well, probably more Spanish speakers working to communicate in English. I don't know if "unfortunate" is the right word for that, but I was saying unfortunately, than English speakers working to learn Spanish.
Yeah.
So that's a thing that
Anglophones
exists.
are just really lazy.
Our way or the highway.
I also took Nihongo, Onashimasu, Japanese.
Okay. You just popped that right out. So which was your favorite language to learn?
Oh, Japanese.
Did you find it to be more difficult or?
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really. I think the most difficult parts, aside from having to learn 2,000 kanji, which frankly I have yet to do. I can write and read hiragana, katakana, and I don't know some of the kanji. But really the challenge is the sentence structure. So Japanese has a subject-object-verb sentence structure. So the verb always comes last. So the sentence, Watashi wa Nihongo o nashimasu. Nashimasu is the verb to speak.
As opposed to us where...
Yeah, we're subject, verb, object.
Yes,
language.
yeah.
Yep. So yeah, fun stuff. And that's an episode of the podcast too. Early episode. Thoughts on being multilingual.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
See, that's what I mean. Like, there's still podcasts that I haven't listened to yet,
Yeah.
and now I'm like, okay, well, I want to go find that one. Yeah,
Over 100.
So
Yeah.
it's I'm in. I will. Over the next, I don't know how much time. Yes, I will come up with. I will finish listening to all 100 podcasts, and then I will provide my top 10 at that point in time, and we can go over my favorite podcasts.
All right then. So, but we can safely say Football for Swifties is up there.
It probably. I have to say it likely. Now I've not listened to all of them. I may find 10 that I'm like that one's good, but not this good. But it at this point in time is certainly my most replayed. Like, I listened to that podcast.
All right.
I've listened to it at least a dozen times.
Nice.
Yeah. For one podcast. Like, that's probably the most times that I've listened to one episode of a podcast, of any podcast, to be honest.
Yeah. All right. So, shall we go over my top 10 list?
Yes, let's
right.
do. Let me pull it. I'm going to...
On the subject of Spanish, number one is a native Spanish speaker by the name of Conrado Salazar.
Yeah.
Of course, a chess friend of mine, who part of my chess duties is to taxi him to and from our events and everything. Good guy, lives in Edwardsville, and the fact he lives in Edwardsville plays a part in that other story that you know about with finding out about that sandwich.
Yeah, so Conrado is the one from the he seems like a very smart individual and also a very skilled chess player.
Yes, like highly rated chess player.
Yeah. So then I connected that. I was like, I think that's you confirmed.
And the dog takes you back home. The eternal line. Our discussion there. So. Yeah, and the dog takes you back home. Of course, for context, since you're mentioning Brittany's team, we just happened to be driving by that site when he said that, and noticed that there's that dog bar right there.
Yeah, is it Barquet?
It's either Bark or Barquet. It's one of the two.
It's so at one point in time, because as I've mentioned, I'm a real estate agent, and part of my value is knowing about the city, and I mean that's like my job is to learn about the city so that I can talk about it, and that pets are a big part of life in general, but creating spaces that dogs can be a part of is huge right now. And so when I called there to just ask about it, they said, "Thank you for calling Barquet." And so I was like, okay.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. So that's,
And along the extension, now under construction for the riverfronts for the KC streetcar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot going on downtown right now. A lot going on downtown.
Yeah, and hopefully there'll be baseball downtown too. So.
Yeah, are you a fan of that idea?
I've been a fan of that idea for 20-some years.
Yeah, of moving it to. So do you think because I know we talked a little bit about is the West Bottoms the right place for it versus?
I never said anything about the West Bottoms. I said East Village.
Yes, would be a better place.
Would be ideal for it.
Because
but I am not opposed. I'm not opposed to using the old Star Printing Press site because there's really nothing around there. You're hearing in the news about a smattering of businesses that would be affected, but they're not businesses I really go to, and B, the Crossroads is a pretty big district, as you know, so there's bound to be plenty of space to relocate those businesses and everything, or the Royals could make concessions and provide them space. But we'll see how that happens. So the vote will have already happened by the time this releases.
Podcast airs, yeah.
So hopefully people have voted yes. Otherwise, we become Omaha.
So what do you think will happen? Let's just say that the vote is no. What do you think the next steps would go with that?
We are. John Sherman is on record on this podcast saying he has no intention of moving the Royals. So I could see him looking into other sites like East Village as potential. As far as the Chiefs are concerned, those cheapos, well, who knows? People are speculating KCK.
Yeah, I mean, it is. It's hard because they use trigger words like keep the Chiefs in Missouri, you know, and they use trigger words like that, and so it's hard to know.
Ironically, St. Louis tried to do exactly that, keep the Rams in St. Louis. They even had a stadium and everything, and this team still said, getting to number 2 on our list, and that is...
Yes!
Kroenke out.
So I learned a lot in that. I mean, it kind of sounds... well, go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
So the same son of a bitch who moved my team out of St. Louis is also very much hated in North London.
Right. It sounds like he kind of stole their league. Like, it sounds like he...
So let's put some context in this.
Yeah,
so
please.
he does own Arsenal Football Club.
Uh-huh.
And it was just a few years ago, about the time we recorded this, there was this nonsense of a European Super League being talked about, which would have totally Americanized European soccer.
Right.
And there were 12 teams confirmed to be part of this league, 3 in Italy, 3 in Spain, and 6 in England. And Arsenal was one of the 6 English clubs, along with Chelsea, Tottenham, Liverpool, Manchester United, and Manchester City. Right. The fans were having none of it. There were protests. We want Kroenke out. And ultimately, those owners own but 3 teams. None of them are English. They all backpedaled and said, "Yeah, we're not going to do this. If it's pissing you guys off, then we won't do it." So, and fortunately, it has not happened because it would have Americanized it and it would have destroyed the footballing pyramid, not just in England but throughout Europe.
Yeah. That's a domino effect. You know, I mean, anyways, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, fun times. And I just did a follow-up to this from the Denver perspective because, his wife technically owns the basketball and hockey teams in Denver, and they own an MLS side there. And keeping it within the Walton family, another member of the Walton family recently bought the Broncos.
Yeah, you said you needed somebody.
Yeah.
Which I'm from Denver, but I don't know enough about football to be of use in that particular conversation. But yeah, I was like, okay.
So we did do the follow-up and everything, and the person we followed up on is also on board to help out with French.
Okay.
So we'll talk about that after we finish recording. So that was fun to know that there are other people besides me that fucking hate Enos Stanley Kroenke.
I'm not anti-opportunistic. I think that we all should be aware of opportunities around us. But when you are willing to lie, cheat, and steal, for the sake of an opportunity, or even just like a heightened awareness of the other person's lack of competence or understanding, and just that's a difficult. I don't agree with those things.
Well, also important to keep in mind, and this is important for the Chiefs as well, should they decide to leave town. The NFL does have rules that say, you have to make a good effort. You have to make a good faith effort to try to stay someplace before you can leave, and stand and do that. Not one iota.
Right. right? I feel, I mean, it's up to this point regarding the Chiefs. So, up to this point regarding the Chiefs, they've all, like, independently have said that they'll never leave Kansas City as far as
Right.
players and Chiefs, oh my gosh, and coaches.
This is
But
ownership. These
it's
are
the
ownership
yes,
level
and that I think is
decisions.
the hard part for a lot of people to say. And I say a lot of people because I'm referring to myself. Like, you don't realize, like, we value what Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes have brought to our community, but they are employed by
Exactly.
the Hunt family. Like, they get to decide who ultimately, like, where the Chiefs are, and have a veto over those things.
Right.
And you know, short of saying, like, okay, I'm not going to be a Chief any longer, and actually quitting and walking away from their multi-million-dollar contracts, they have to go where the team goes.
Yeah,
And
that's unfortunate. Yeah. Again, a St. Louis fan, I saw this firsthand. You know.
that's my point, is, like, you know, people were upset with the team, and it's like, this is not a team choice. This team is likely quite upset with this as well.
Yeah.
But, like, when you're on a board, you have to present unified agreement. You have to present a unified thing. And so even if you are like, no, this is ridiculous, this is wrong, you know, this is our fan base, this is our family, this is our home. When you go to your new team, you have to show up excited and ready to be a part of that community and ready to represent them. And that is a difficult, that's a difficult space to be in. And on the outside, it can look rather uncaring, like, oh,
Right.
yeah, you guys are just glad to leave and happy to be there now, I see. And it's like, that may not actually be the case at all.
Yeah.
There is no one right way to do that, though.
And an extra FU to one Kevin Demoff, who did most of the lying for Stan, and after the move, slammed St. Louis cuisine. If you've ever had Emo's Pizza, you know.
I used to live in Chesterfield, and I will say St. Louis has phenomenal cuisine. Like,
Yes.
they're a very multicultural, very diverse space. I won't say similar to Kansas City because they're very different, but we are also a very multicultural, multi-diverse space.
And we have Emo's.
And we have Emo's Pizza. But yeah, no, the food out there is amazing.
Yes,
so
it is.
what's, like, why add insult to injury at that point?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Number 3, getting back to our list, is the most downloaded interview episode of the podcast with one Brian Boy. Brian is one of my closest friends in the film community locally, whose day job is to make commercials. And oh boy, we had fun with that particular episode. He did come back for our 100th episode, and which we recorded in this very library.
Okay.
Not this room, but
Yeah.
in the library. And oh yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, he kept injecting. He kept injecting the name of the podcast. Oh, that's uncalled for. Oh, this situation is uncalled for.
Yeah. Well,
Having
I'm
fun
like,
with it.
should we look for his renditions? Because he said that a couple times too. Like, he's going to start his Uncalled For series referencing different things that he also felt were uncalled for.
Well, one of the things he said was uncalled for was Nickelback.
Oh, yes. He has great disdain for Nickelback.
Yes, he does. I don't know if you got the chance to see his shorts, but he did a short film with a bunch of local actresses, all pretending to be strippers.
Oh,
and
because that's all Nickelback does, right? Is make stripper music for strippers to dance
Right.
to. Yeah, which I will say that I don't necessarily agree that. I mean, Nickelback is not a favorite band necessarily of mine, but I have listened to their music, and it didn't correspond to me like that. But I also haven't spent maybe as much time at strip clubs. Like, maybe Nickelback is
maybe
that playlist.
I don't go to
is-
strip clubs. So.
So we might, there might be more context to that than we even know.
Right. So that was one. He also did a Bon Jovi musical, which I did help out on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys kind of, it said, rode the line there of of not having any kind of, like, infringement issues or anything like that, right? It
Right.
sounded like a good time, though.
Oh yeah, that was a good time. Except for the part where KC Fire Department showed up because they had a smoke machine and it triggered the
Yeah.
smoke detectors.
Yeah.
But of course, the one thing to keep in mind with Brian and why he's the number one most listened to episode was he went off right off the bat saying as long as he had more downloads and listens than our first two episodes combined, he's good to go. Yeah. So yeah.
That was exceeded then.
Oh yeah, we succeeded. We
That's
succeeded. Awesome. Then, of course, number 4 would be the first time of 3 that I had Luke and Dan on. So, Lucas Stone King, Daniel Rains, a couple of guys I worked with at Silpata Designs, back to when the warehouse was just down the street from us, down Renner. I was a warehouse stocker, and these guys were the forklift drivers, and I call that our drunk episode because we were drinking.
Drunk, yeah.
We were drinking. And some funny moments out of that one, including the whole, what were you doing in Tijuana thing.
So, you never know when you're going to build a connection.
Yeah.
Because it could have been just as easily like, nah, I don't want to apply for that job.
Yeah.
And you would have missed out on so much.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Yeah, good guys. I think they're both participating in the tournament bracket pool. I know Dan is, at least, because we talked about it.
How is that going?
How's that going? Well, we're just one round in out of 6, of course. First 2 rounds this weekend.
Yeah.
Second round's going on as we speak. 2 more rounds the following weekend, and 2 more the weekend after that. And currently, there's some games going on, but currently I'm in second, and I think it's Luke is currently in first.
Okay.
But Luke has the least upside of everyone in the group. And
so my sister is actually a much bigger sports fan than I am, and she participates in the brackets and things of that nature, and like the fantasy leagues and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
I would, if I was
I've
to
done fantasy
participate-
football with these guys too.
Oh yeah, I bet. See, well, and I'm just now I've watched football for Swifties, and I'm like, I could see, like, for the first time actually making sense of, like, even what stats mean enough. Like, I can read stats and I can comprehend what it is they're saying, but actually seeing, like, how that is applied and what that directly correlates to what they've been able to do on a field is just much more relevant now.
Yeah.
But if I was to participate in, like, this, for example, I would be one of those, like, I like that name. Let's see. There would be no basis for me. So one of the things that I'm looking forward to along this journey is this particular sports space is a space that I've not, I'm not putting a lot of effort to, like, learning about. Like I said, I enjoy the sportsmanship. I enjoy the energy around it. But, like, I've already learned a lot. I think ultimately, some of the stuff we've talked about I would love to just sit and have you teach me sports rules for all of the games,
Oh, wow. That would take a while.
Well, ultimately, like, we wouldn't have to do, like, one episode, but it could be, like, soccer.
Okay.
And today's, you did a really good job with football for Swifties. But where I could just ask questions and be like, well, what happens? What does this mean when this happens? Because I have those questions.
Like, what's a red card, maybe?
Yes, like, there's a lot of that.
Automatic ejection.
Well, and even right now, women's college basketball is really big. Miss Caitlin's doing amazing things. And even I'm realizing, like, even with basketball. Now, basketball, I have played more just because basketball courts are everywhere. But, short of playing, like, horse, I understand the concept of different points at different marks along the court, but I genuinely am a blank slate when it comes to really understanding the rules and regulations of sports.
Okay.
And I want to know more.
All right.
Yeah.
Number 5 is a
Yep.
sports guy. Big C, Carl Fletcher. Yeah. Guy I went to high school with. We were on the football team together. We were on an intramural basketball team together. That was named after myself. I am that vain. And it was just good catching up with him. What was interesting about the interview, we did it on Zoom, and Zoom automatically makes video everything.
Yeah.
Carl did not turn his camera on, so I'm talking to a blank screen the whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, he sees me taking a sip of my water. What you sipping on? Water.
Yeah.
And so I would spike my own water.
Although, I will say,
you gotta put away that Taco Bell. You got Taco Bell though.
I will say, going to like in the sports space, you never know what's in somebody's Stanley Cup. It could very easily have been something other than water.
Oh, the Stanley Cup. Yeah.
Oh, I know that one.
There's a lot. There have been a lot of things that have been put in that cup.
Yes.
Over the a lot of things have been done to that cup.
Oh, that's true.
Over the years, it's been in the bottom of swimming pools. It's been used as a jack for cars. It's been left on the side of the road.
Yeah, well, they
It's
say
on
like your house
ice.
could blow
Someone
up.
used it. A kid used it as a toilet. Kids have been baptized in it. They've eaten cereal out of it.
Huh.
Yeah, so players do weird things to the Stanley Cup.
That is a thing. That is a thing.
That is very much a thing.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had literally no idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now I feel like that needs to be an episode of its own, where we just talk
about the Stanley Cup.
And just the weird stuff people have done with it.
Weird.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. Weird stuff that's been done to the Stanley Cup.
I feel like even the words weird shit done to the Stanley Cup would be appropriate, considering that weird shit has happened to the Stanley Cup.
Literally.
In a very literal sense, yes.
Yep. Yep. Even Jason Kelsey's youngest child has been in the Stanley Cup.
What? Jason Kelsey's youngest child was in the Stanley Cup,
Yes.
huh? I did not know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. Okay.
Yeah, you can look that.
I'm going to look that up. Did you, I'm really quick tangent. Did you see the New Heights podcast announcement? How do you feel about that?
Well, I know they did a live show in KC last year around the draft. So yeah, that's pretty cool that they're doing another live show in Cincinnati this time. So
Did you see that they got picked up? $150 million?
yeah, which is 150 more than this podcast has ever made.
It's, all in due time. All in
Yeah.
due time. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, see, you could see me drinking from my water bottle, and could see I was wearing an Arizona Cardinals shirt because that is my team now.
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Well, were you at the Chiefs parade?" I'm like, no. Why would I be at Chiefs parade? I could have sworn it was you getting drunk and jumping around.
Nope, no,
yeah,
sir.
no. You've known me for how long, Carl? Yeah, but yeah, that was fun. It's always fun when I get a high school guy
Sure.
on the podcast, and we've had C would have been the fourth. So,
Yeah, I'm ready to be a fly on that wall. I'm ready to have them come back in, and where I can just ask questions and listen to all the stories.
oh yeah. And of course, number 6. I wouldn't say. I want how to describe her. I just refer to her as my favorite person in the
Yeah.
world. I'm of course talking about Caroline.
Yeah. That's a pretty special way to describe somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not boyfriend girlfriends, but you have feelings for her.
Mm-hmm.
So, what better way to describe her? I guess
She's your favorite person.
she's my favorite person.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she seems like a very special human.
Mm-hmm.
Also very kind.
Yes, yes, yeah, she really is, and also very talented.
Yes.
Actress, singer, songwriter, model. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Also a big soccer fan.
okay.
Yeah. In fact, just before we recorded that, we went to Loose Park to kick a soccer ball around.
Oh, that's amazing.
So, yeah, that's always fun. So yeah, that's always fun. We need to get back to doing that if we can ever find the fun times.
Right.
Um,
I do encourage that. We're getting back to springtime. Maybe you should call her.
yeah, and of course who knows, she might be available for Fringe. We'll see,
Yeah.
because the last time we did talk, she did talk about possibly getting into Fringe. Whether she got in or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope she'll be open to that. Yeah, just come in for about an hour, and we'll let you play a song or two if you want.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, that would be special.
have you had a chance to hear some of her music?
No, I have not.
Okay, go to your Spotify, look up Sweet Caroline.
I'm gonna do it right now because that's the world we live in. I have this access in my hand.
Sweet Caroline. And I don't think she named it after the Neil Diamond song. So.
I was gonna say. Oh, it added remix in. I was like, where did it go?
Where'd it go? Where you been, Golly? Cheating again? So, yeah, moving on would be number 7, and that is the second time I had Luke and Dan on. And that was during those evil early pandemic times, and
4 years ago, like
Yeah.
this week.
yeah, just about. So, Luke, in our first episode, suggested I try DoorDash. So I did.
I saw your post. Sign is no
Yeah.
longer there.
Yeah, the sign's no longer there. That's it. That's a Chick-fil-A on State Line.
Yep.
Yeah, we went over. I did used to keep a list of all the places I was dashing to. And yeah, keeping that list would have been way too tedious over the long term.
Yeah.
Especially when you get over 5,000 deliveries as I have.
Sure. Well, and I don't think anybody really expected it to go how it went. You know?
Yeah. But that was fun, especially when Luke asked, well, did you go to the Lion's Choice at all? Like, yeah. Ate there once, picked up an order there at one point, and, well, what's the food like? I don't know if you like Arby's.
Yeah.
You like Lion's Choice. Oh, yeah, get that 5 for $5, and I don't have that anymore. Where you been?
Right. Although I did like the 5 for $5. I'm with them on that.
Yeah.
Now, do you like your roast beef with cheddar or no cheddar?
It depends on my mood, but
I agree
with
with that.
cheddar and with bacon. Oh my
Ooh,
God.
I've never done it with bacon.
Oh my God.
But I do like to mix the horsey sauce and the Arby's sauce.
Okay.
Yeah, I like a little of both on there. With or without cheddar, I still like a little of both of the sauces on there.
Yeah, my dad has a funny story about me and horseradish,
Okay.
which we'll leave at that.
Yeah. you must have felt I was going to be like, tell me.
All right. And number 8, this is the only non-interview episodes on this top 10 list. It is Thoughts on Cheating, the Neiman edition. As you probably no doubt heard, Hans Niemann, Grandmaster, got suspected of cheating. And cheating in ways that I cannot describe in front of students. Because of all things, potentially being stuck up one's ass. Yeah.
Potentially.
Yeah.
That's a loosely used word.
The rumor is, and I have to be careful with what I say,
Sure,
of course,
absolutely.
because
No, you're right.
there's no way to
Proof.
100% prove this.
Certainly not
but
at
the
this
rumor
point.
is he had anal beads, and they were possibly vibrating in Morse code or something, telling him what the next move would be. And
Wow.
everything. But the funny thing is, he has been caught cheating online.
Yeah.
All right, which is a totally different beast than over the board.
Yeah.
You know, it's way
Yes.
easier to cheat online. You know?
Well, sure. 'Cause
I'm just playing my game here, and then switch to a chess engine, input the next play, and then it'll tell me what the next play is going to be. And yeah, there are protocols against that too.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting thing because like somebody like me who is like I know enough about the game of chess that I understand what all of the different pieces are and what their moves are, right? Like I could navigate the moves on a chessboard, but like you had said, there's like really a finite number of games of chess, especially
There are
like
1,300 different openings.
yeah, and that's in the realm of somebody who plays any game a lot. That's not very many. And so that's how master chess players are born. Like they navigate and they master, like, okay, it opened like this, so I know what that next move is. So for somebody like me who is learning chess and using the tools and the resources, like I'm glad that those resources are available. Like it's something that I could teach myself if I didn't have an expert that was willing to teach me things.
Right. And I'm hardly an expert. I just
Well,
maybe compared to you.
yeah, right. Well, and I think anybody that is able to teach is a level of expert in whatever their craft is. If you know it and understand it well enough to teach it, that is a level of expertise. Absolutely. But yeah, no, cheating. It is a what is the right way to say this? You are displaying yourself, like character is everything, and that part is true, and cheating is an immoral thing, but it also is it's a display of of the ego, and really, really, really just uncovering one's like lack of knowledge, lack of expertise, lack of understanding, lack of comprehension, and when you are at a master level and you are on this platform, like you have a responsibility to doing it the right way. And even if that means failing, even if in doing it the right way you fail at it, that is a learning opportunity. That is something you can stand on and move forward on. Totally different thing, but I watched Cool Runnings recently.
Yes.
And
it's on my top 10 movies.
It's a great movie. But that's another example of where cheating, like you've lost the point. You've lost what you're even doing any of this for. Like if you're only doing it, whether it's playing chess, whatever it is, if you're only doing it just to win, you've lost it. You've lost it. And the detriment to being found out about cheating is you lose everything. That's
Yep. So, cheating's bad.
Yeah, cheating's bad. Cheating is bad.
And don't stick stuff up your ass.
Yeah.
To try to cheat.
Certainly not to try to cheat. Okay, to each their own in many ways.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I found out there have been some other interesting cheating stories to like the Toiletgate things. So this was a World Chess Championship.
Wow.
All right. One of the players would get up and go to the bathroom, then come back and so that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So, and someone found a cell phone in the toilets.
Okay. So he was going to.
So they made some rules right on the fly. Okay, you both have to use the same bathroom.
Yeah.
And no devices.
Yeah. And, doing a bathroom check after the use, like you can't, and I'll say that even to different contexts, but I have daughters in high school, and just taping things in bathrooms to hide and go back to is something that's a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
It is a tale as old as time. So, do better, folks. And don't be offended when people have to go in and check out your bathroom after you use it.
Yeah. All right. So number 9, Jamie Morrow. Jamie is an actress. She spends time in Hollywood. She's now back in KC, and she is currently the president of the Independent Filmmakers Coalition.
Okay.
Yeah. What's notable about Jamie is she gave me probably the best sound bites of all of the podcast. I asked her, because it's kind of an introductory thing.
Yeah.
I asked her, so what genre would you like to work in? And she was like, is paid a genre?
Which in the acting community is 100% a real thing.
Yeah, it is.
Sort of just similar to the podcast. Really, I'm sure, the entertainment industry as a whole, doing it because you love it is definitely where it has to start. But yeah. Is paid a genre? Because I picked that one. Me too, Jamie.
Yeah. And I guess I should also point out, especially in light of the recent Hollywood strikes, she's SAG-AFTRA. So.
That's another topic we could get into. And
I could also talk about how much of a pain in the ass it is trying to work with SAG-AFTRA.
Well, yeah. It's there's a bunch of my background that is painting, remodeling, construction industry, and you have unions, which on one hand, the unions are there because they needed to be there. They need these protections needed to be in place. There was exploitation. There was lack of representation, benefits. There was a lot of things lacking that good people were entitled to. So that's kind of how they were formed. But now, there are a lot of people say it's very difficult to work with union workers because the protections and the framework of that is not necessarily always conducive to the environment or the needs of the job itself.
Right.
And then you have these conflicts that just cause delays and cost money and have the actual people on site trying to do the work very frustrated over kind of some bureaucratic components of it. It's not even, it's you're over here talking about the weeds, so to speak, and we're trying to actually accomplish this task, this goal. So similar situation there.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing about dealing with SAG-AFTRA as a filmmaker is you try to use a SAG actor in your film, and you are independent and not planning on working on much with budgets, they'll still send you a shitload of paperwork that you have to fill out, and I'd rather not go through that again. But
well, and it's not just paperwork; it's jargon. It's, if you aren't somebody that can sit and read and comprehend that, how many times, I'm sure, just like anything else, people are just going through and they just get sick of it, and you're signing things and you're going through this process, and it, in the end, it's I don't even understand what this says, and then now they're losing opportunity because it's a deterrent.
Yeah. So here's an example of I can think of a couple of examples of film jargon you may not be familiar with, but I'll test your knowledge anyway.
Yeah.
C47.
Yep. No, you're right. No knowledge.
It's a clothespin.
Huh. A clothespin. C47 is a clothespin.
Yeah.
I wonder who came up with that. How did that come to be?
Some props guy.
Yeah, right.
Stinger. That's another one.
Tell me.
It's an extension cord.
Okay. So C47 is a clothespin. Stinger is an extension cord. Okay.
Yeah. And the probably other jargons I could think of.
I feel like that could be a fun episode too.
But But,
jargon is a funny thing.
another one would be shooter. That's a cameraman.
Well, and I feel like, actually, that's one that I might have been able to, and I'll say guess. I won't say no.
Yeah.
But because you do shoot the film, so it does, I could have probably guessed that one. Unlike Stinger or C-47.
Right. right.
Even with multiple choice, you know what I mean? Like, I would have been like, C-47, it's a cat, it's a couch, it's a clothespin. And it could have been any of them, I have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. And then number 10 to finish this top 10 list is Andrew Rainey. So Andrew was a Bernie volunteer in 2016 and helped me out when I ran for the state senate.
Yes.
And then helped me out again in 21 when I tried to run for Overland Park City Council. Good guy, very knowledgeable, and last time we talked, I had referenced the episode we did with Trevor Adamson, who was paid by the Bernie campaign, unlike Andrew. So, and we talked about maybe there's indeed something illegal going on in that 2016 caucus, but we shall never know. And the legal thing I'm talking about, of course, is it's not illegal to have people sign a petition. It is illegal if you say a condition of practicing your right to vote is to sign a petition.
Yes.
So.
Completely illegal.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, we talked, using the term domino effect. There has been a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
And now, and I'm sure we will, over the course of this year and next, have opportunities to discuss the political ongoings of the United States of America. Because it's going to get real interesting.
And I'm just talking the Democratic side of things, too. So,
sure.
Yeah. So, that's it for the top 10 list.
And so in your top 10, my question is, are they listed in order of like most favorite? So your number one most favorite?
My number one most favorite is Conrad.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was good. He was funny. Because he also is very dry, right?
Yeah.
And I enjoy that. I like frankness.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it very, very much.
Yeah. Now, as for another top 10 list, here are the top 10 episodes that have been downloaded.
The most?
So far, yeah. Most downloads. So, here we go. Let me just... So, number one is actually a piece of music I wrote, so it doesn't really count towards the podcast, but it does count towards the downloads numbers. So, a little song called Laura, which is... snuck in there somewhere.
You're like, I don't know how I got there, but it did.
No, I know how I got there. I put it there. So.
Aww.
Mm-hmm.
Is it on? I'm like, where? I want to listen to it.
In the podcast feed.
Yeah, in the feed. Yeah, so I will go in and find that one too and listen to it.
Yeah, that'd be one of the piece of media you still need to listen to. But in terms of actual episodes, number one, stories that would otherwise be left untold. So these are just little short stories I told, mostly from my brief time in the Navy and some security stories, because I was in the Navy for 2 weeks out of high school, and I did work as a security officer, and I've totally lost touch with people from both. So I just tell some of my favorite stories, like the best fucking potatoes story, or if you have a problem with me and the way I do things, well, fuck you.
Man, that's relevant. That is relevant.
Yeah. Then Stories Untold 2, the sequel, would be next, followed by Brian, followed by Ghost Stories. So these are mostly Boy Scout ghost stories.
Yeah. Like told around the campfire.
Right.
I like it.
And then Pat Lamb would be next, the very first episode. Pat was supposed to be here today,
yes.
but he has not shown up, nor has he messaged me back
Well, then, Pat,
but
we hope everything is well.
yeah, well, he also lives by the stadiums now, so it's a bit of a drive. I
Yeah.
understand. Pat, who also returned for our St. Archuleta's Day episode, and gave some good insight. Then Adam Sadiq, game designer. We actually played his game on the podcast too. That's a Wrap, which is a fun filmmaking based game. I'll have to bring it next time we meet
I
up.
would love that.
Yep. Then we have thoughts on being a Trekkie.
Thoughts on being a Trekkie?
Yeah.
Okay.
As in Star Trek.
Yeah. Oh, a Trekkie. Okay. Thoughts on being a Trekkie. Well, I thought you said Truckie, and I was like, a Trekkie. Huh? So, thoughts on being a Trekkie, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I have thoughts on that, so I have to go check that out.
All right. Chris Lyman would be next. He's another local actor. I don't think he's SAG, because I did work with him.
He wasn't then, at least, yeah.
On projects. And actually is tied with Cronky Out. Then we have thoughts on being multilingual. And then a repeat guest who is SAG, George Dean. Then we have our Smash Up playthrough with Brienne. We have our 1,000 downloads episode. Top 10 board games. Then Luke and Dan Part 1. Why I am now a Cards fan, which was mostly recycled from a past podcast.
Yeah.
Then Luke and Dan Part 2. Then Top 10 Movies. Thoughts on being ex-Mormon. And this just everything has 200 downloads at this point. Adam McKeith the second time. Then Adam's also an actor. Conrado. Then Adam's first time. Then George's second time. Jared Feldman, who I'm hoping will do a segment for this episode, because this will be a complex one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, as you piece it all together.
Piece it all together,
That's
yeah.
where the magic happens.
And Jared is technically one of our co-hosts now, so. And the last one is Chris Hertz, the first time around.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, plenty of stuff there for you,
For me
Heather,
to continue to digest.
and for everyone at home to listen to. So
Yeah.
don't just listen to the. It's all available, folks. It's all available. And
Well, I like your favorite is not necessarily the most downloaded, and I like that. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to continue listening and digging in.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm excited to have you on board.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. Like this is
Yeah.
this is an exciting space.
And I'm really excited about KC Fringe
Yes.
coming up in July.
Yes. Kudos.
Yeah.
Kudos on that. Yeah. There will be. I know that.
We're gonna have some fun with that.
Well, and I'm. You let me know. You know what I mean? Like I respect what you have built and what you are doing, and I want to be just a contribution. And I'm enjoying the space, enjoying being here. So yeah.
And I'm glad to have you on board.
Well,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
These are all the things I want. Soft Pacific echoes. I'll go searching in the evening for that calm, for that home. The Yamanote don't end. Bide your time for another one. A typhoon hung over the station. Then when it calmed, no one left. Stop, let it all run out. This is where drawn by heavy haze. Is it lost? Was it ever night? The tallest light, still nothing seems to end. Darling, it knows nothing of us. Talk like you mean it, walk like you get to. Darling, it knows nothing of us. Try as it may to, it doesn't get to understand. I gotta keep it steady. This could swallow me whole. Dogenzaka is a cascade. I'm in awe. I'm alone. Sayonara, sweetness. From the izakaya, I became myself in this place. Do you feel that cold? Do you feel it? Darling, it knows nothing of us. Talk like you mean it, walk like you get to. Darling, it knows nothing of us. Try as it may to, it doesn't get to understand.
All right, so this is the second part of our 5-year anniversary special with Chris Hertz today. Chris, welcome to the Three Timers Club.
Oh, thank you.
You, Lucas Stone King, and Daniel Raines
Oh, wow.
all appeared on the podcast 3 times now. So
And it was my privilege to both see you via like Zoom or something like that. And the first time I think was at Homer's
yep,
in downtown Oakland Park.
yep,
And here we are at the Johnson County Central Library today.
yeah. Others have been invited, but they are not here today.
Let us give proper credit to the improvements that are happening to all the streets around town.
Yeah, good and bad. Of course, the big improvement is the extension of the streetcar.
I was not aware of this. Tell me more.
Oh yeah, so have you ridden the streetcar?
I know where it's at. I have not been there. The closest I have been has been donating at the Community Blood Center on Main.
Okay, so it will pass. The track's already in place. Going past that Community Blood Center. So as is right now, the starter line just loops starting from Union Station, going up Main, looping around the River Market, and then back down Union Station. They have not one but 2 extensions being built right now. The big one, is the Main Street extension, which picks up from Union Station all the way to MKC.
Wow, that is significant.
So that's extension number 1. Extension number 2 is not as big, but would continue from the river market to the riverfront.
Oh, wow.
They just started construction on that earlier this month, March 24. So they've started tearing down that big shelter that was there for the longest time and at the midpoint of Riverfront Park, and that's where the stop is going to be.
Oh, very nice.
They'll go across that bridge there into the park and stop where that now used to be, because they just started tearing it down. And yeah, so that's going to be exciting. I know there are 2 other routes that are planned. The North Rail plan, they've done the studies, but kind of put that on the back burner.
Because it's going to involve crossing the river, isn't
It
it?
would,
Or,
it would involve crossing the river, and it would involve a different municipality, in this case, North Kansas City. And they determined, we don't quite have the funds to do it this time, but we'll look at it in the future. And the other one's that east-west route, or routes, shall I say. So they're talking from Main Streets, going west on 39th Street, stopping at KU Med,
interesting.
and then going the eastbound would from Main Street, going east on Linwood, all the way out to Van Brunt.
Wow.
So yeah, slowly but surely we're getting some rail around here, and of course the big rail story I keep hearing about is from downtown to the airport.
Oh, wow.
And that needs to be something a lot faster than a streetcar could ever be.
Yes.
So, because that's quite a drive.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One that I've been making a lot lately, and that's because of the small town to the north of that airport. Been doing a lot of chess clubs in Platte City.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
I have to highlight your community involvement. You're involved with chess clubs, you're involved with the Fringe Festival, you're aware of community events, and one of those, at least, is coming up for a vote for the citizens of Kansas City, Missouri, which is, speak for a moment about that. I realize you're the host.
It is, well, by the time you guys are hearing this, the vote will already have happened, but he's talking about the Jackson County-wide vote for just extending a sales tax to put money into, some of it would go to the Chiefs to renovate Arrowhead, and the rest would go to the downtown ballpark.
Which you are a strong advocate of on
Have been for a long time.
even during the Winning Side Coaches podcast.
Yes. Yeah. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, credits to Chris for coming up with the name Winning Side Coaches for that podcast. A lot of that podcast did wind up in this podcast.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Because I have to find audio somewhere, and I can't, unfortunately, interview everyone. Why let that audio go to waste?
Oh, that's just, and you're a passionate sports fan on several levels.
And we're recording this today on the opening day for the United Football League,
Oh, wow. Oh, this is,
the XFL-USFL merger.
yes. And,
Well, if you look at my phone wallpaper, that's all the teams.
oh, wow. And conceptually, do they play on like a half football field? Or?
Oh, it's full 11 on 11, 100 yards.
Okay, I'm thinking of arena football. This is
You're thinking of arena football.
This is why I'm confused there. I suppose I'm not paying as much attention until
Probably.
a certain point in the season. It's like, oh, we are in the Chiefs have made it to the Super Bowl again. Well, this is good. That's when you know.
4 out of the 5 years that we've been doing this podcast. they've made the Super Bowl.
Much to your, I know that you,
Yeah, I'm not-
you missed
I-
the St. Louis Rams.
Oh, absolutely, and that's one of the reasons I'm excited about the UFL, St. Louis Battlehawks.
Oh, there we go. There
Yeah.
we go. And it should be said of St. Louis, do they not have a downtown ballpark there?
Busch Stadium's downtown.
There we go. What other, I am betting that you know what cities have downtown ballparks.
Practically all of them. I think Texas Rangers may be an exception because they are in Arlington, which is neither Dallas nor Fort Worth, but somewhere
Or
in between.
Austin, or San Antonio for that much.
Yeah, yeah. Arlington, by the way, also home to the Cowboys and the Renegades, playing in the prison of Arlington now. Strictly speaking, neither New York team is in Manhattan, so by default they're not downtown, but they're pretty close. You know, Yankees in the Bronx, Mets in the Queens. I think the LA teams. I don't think either those two teams were downtown.
But that is, I am getting confused. I thought we were talking football for a second, but I didn't
No,
say
you were talking
football.
about. We're talking about baseball at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah. My mind already was thinking about the Jets. I am sorry.
They play in the New York Jets,
Yes.
New Jersey.
Oh, wow.
So they share the stadium with the New York Football Giants,
Okay.
and yeah, that's in New Jersey.
Okay.
So, Atlanta is. They used to be downtown, but they're not anymore. They moved out to the suburbs, but built theirs around this ballpark village idea, which is what the Royals are talking about, which St. Louis has, by the way, a ballpark village.
If there's anything there, that's even if we were looking no further than the boundaries of the state of Missouri, that would be the inspiration. Mm-hmm. If you were just looking inside the state of Missouri.
If you're looking inside the state of Missouri, then
Yeah.
Busch Stadium, which also has a MetroLink stop to their light rail and subway, which I do highly recommend if you ever go to St. Louis. I noticed you brought a little Brony memorabilia with you today.
Oh yes. This is the character's name is Rarity. This is a larger standard figure than what you might find, and this is, I think the color scheme of the mane, the hair here, is actually inspired by the fourth season when they had Rainbow Power, and that featured primarily in the finale of season 4, Twilight's Kingdom Part 1 and Part 2.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Really cool.
Oh, don't forget my shirt. Also, yes.
So long, and thanks for all the yips.
That's right. It's the character here, Big Macintosh. That was his catchphrase. He was basically a one word. He would either say yes or no to certain things. Nope and yup, or yup. And the shirt is actually not. I'm pretty sure the artist is.
Okay, so because no one else can see this, I'm going to explain it. So we got a globe and some stars, and above the globe we have a red pony and two dolphins.
In allusion to the book by Douglas Adams. So long and thanks for all the fish. There we go. So it's a mixed thing.
That's Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Doug Adams?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Yes. And the artist would be Amy New. I'm not exactly sure of what the screen name is on Twitter or now X, but
I'm still going to call it Twitter.
Okay, that's fair. It's easier to say. It's easier to say because before you know it, you're going to start talking about Dos Iques.
Dos Equis.
Thank you.
Two X's. Those of us who studied El Español. So.
Or just might be connoisseurs of more promoted liquor brands out there, yes. Which is certainly...
Dos Equis, that's more cerveza than it is liquor.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But I will admit, let's go back to the Chiefs for a second. I was pulling for them this past Super Bowl, primarily because I can't stand the 49ers. Never could. That's part of having been a Rams fan until they were light out of 10.
There's a rivalry that goes back decades between those two?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 1950 when the Niners first started playing in the NFL.
Oh, wow.
So
What was the wider dynamic?
why did Northern California versus Southern California?
Oh, okay. The Rams were originally in Southern California?
They were originally in Cleveland.
Oh, wow.
All right, I can't stress that enough either to all the LA idiots that might be listening. Your team originated from Cleveland. They didn't get to LA until after World War II.
Oh, okay.
All right.
But that is why there was a rivalry, was because one was Southern California, one was Northern California.
Yeah.
In 50.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
In 1950s, so a little more context. We're talking about different football leagues that sprang up. Well, right after World War II, a lesser-known league spread up called the All-American Football Conference. That lasted from 1946 to 1949, before it merged with the NFL and brought us not just the 49ers, the Cleveland Browns came from that too. So,
Oh, wow.
in fact, the Cleveland Browns were pretty dominant in that league. They pretty much swept the floor with everyone in that league. So going into the NFL, they were actually quite a dominant team. And this would be the same Cleveland Browns that replaced the aforementioned Rams in Cleveland. And the same Browns that, of course, Armo Dell did his little stunts in '96, moving into Baltimore, and that's how you get the Baltimore Ravens. And then the expansion Browns come around in '99, and of course, they inherit all the team colors and history and all that. So technically speaking, the Browns were on hiatus for 3 years. So, yeah.
Well, I am going to say that I do not follow sports much until towards the end of the season. I do have a calendar on some kind of metal surface somewhere for the Royals games, and I know that their home opener was Thursday.
Yep.
But there's still time in a 3-game series to redeem.
Always. Well, that's the beauty of baseball is it's really broken down into they'll play 3 or 4 games against each other before going on to the next opponent and everything, and that all adds up 162 games a year, 81 of which are at home, and that's a big reason why you build a downtown ballpark with downtown village is you get people downtown, and that's something that we still have a problem with locally.
You cannot count on the amphitheater drawing everyone down there.
No.
Yeah.
That's right. So, and not just respect to Sprint Center or T-Mobile Center, I guess now because T-Mobile bought out Sprint.
Yes.
I should know because I was a Sprint customer and now I'm a T-Mobile customer. No, that's an excellent little venue they built there too. Now, if we can get a full-time basketball or hockey team, that'd be great. But considering that we have neither, I think they've put that arena to pretty good use with concerts and other sporting events.
What has happened to? I understand it's now Hy-Vee Arena, but
okay. So that's the for those outside the KC area. This is the old Kemper Arena, which does still stand, and basically it was turned into a community center, is my understanding.
Oh,
A very giant community center.
I was unaware of that part. I had to look and find out that the naming rights to the facility had actually changed.
Yep.
And they had built an entire exhibition center beside it for the American Royal.
Yeah, that's been there. That's been there forever. So.
But even that event is now, I think they hold it at a different place.
Yeah, I have heard that the American Royal, the namesake of the Royals baseball team, B, a big-ass rodeo.
Yes. Well, and many other agricultural events that people bring their prized livestock for. And I've been down there many decades, probably better than 30 years ago whenever I was in elementary school.
Right,
Yes.
right, because they would always take us on field trips to see the rodeo and all that. My understanding is they're moving that to Village West areas. So
Okay. Oh, wow.
racetrack, sporting
Fascinating.
park,
Very nice.
Legends.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Yep. Now, of course, one of my video jobs after taking a video at Johnson County was a ranch out in Miami County,
Oh, wow.
and the guy just wanted me to shoot his roping calf practice, and that was interesting, and even more interesting, the history behind it. So a lot of what we associate with rodeo comes from
Spanish tradition.
well, yeah, some Spanish tradition called rodeo, right, in Spanish, but it comes from medical practices in raising cattle and whatnot. So
Interesting.
with calf roping specifically, the idea is to tie them down and they can see what's going on with the animal and all that. So,
More veterinary practice before it was known as veterinary practice.
right.
And it is interesting that only about 2%, at least in the United States, of the workforce is employed in agriculture. Whether that is if you have a field of crops or if you are operating a small to large, there are so many corporate farm entities out there. Just as a fact. And one of the more interesting things, of course, can you speak to driving in western Kansas, if you know what I'm talking about?
I've never been west of Wichita.
Oh, I mean, western Kansas off of 70. There is.
Yeah, still haven't been west of Wichita.
Okay.
The furthest west I've been on 70 is Abilene.
Okay. 135. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, there are several large industrial farms that direction, and you will know when you pass a certain point. You will know. And
When I pass Topeka, it feels like I'm in the middle of goddamn nowhere.
Wow.
All right. So, Abilene, of course, you know what's in Abilene, right?
Oh, the Eisenhower Presidential
Yep.
Library
I
and
did a
Museum.
video. I did a video job there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
A fantastic place. It does have a scale model of the Normandy. I'm trying to remember what the name of the operation was for.
Oh, D-Day.
Okay, I thought there was another. Was it Operation Torch, or am I?
No, we just call it D-Day in the history
Okay.
books. You know, so.
There is another presidential museum also in the Kansas City area in Independence.
Truman.
Yes, I've also been there.
I was there just this past summer.
Fantastic.
Actually.
Fantastic.
Also doing work, but this was chess club work.
Oh wow.
So So I got to talk about this because this is
Okay.
interesting.
Oh, yes.
They contacted the chess club in June and said
22 or 23.
23.
Okay.
So this past summer, and they said, yeah, we want you guys to bring some boards, and we'll have some kids playing chess and everything as a part of a reception for Gary Kasparov.
the chess player who I believe faced off against
Yep.
IBM's Deep Blue.
That's correct.
Was that 97?
I forget which year it was, but yeah, exactly.
At the point when, and was the phrase invitational in the title of the event?
It was not.
Oh, it should have been.
It was not. But
But that was 25 years ago, which is quite interesting.
yeah. Yeah, Kasparov is pretty much retired from competitive chess, although he does still play in like blitz tournaments. That's like really fast chess.
Oh, wow.
All right, but yeah, he was there mostly to give a speech on some aspects of Truman's presidency, and they gave him a tour of the place, and one of my students actually showed up. He wanted to get Kasparov's autograph,
Oh, wow.
and actually got a photo of that happening.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But he just said, yeah, he's going to follow Kasparov along in the museum part as Kasparov is taking a tour of the place.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so that was really cool. And then just also really cool seeing all those kids, including a lot of my students, actually, in that atrium playing chess with
A lot of
arguably one of the best chess players ever.
a little
watching
bit of vicarious living there. A little bit. I mean, you were there. And you are a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
I am gonna say I know very little difference between chess and checkers, and that is unique level.
Checkers is comparatively a very simple game.
Oh yes. That's about the level of sophistication I have.
So yeah, and I've also been in the same room as other grandmasters, including the other living person I would say is arguably one of the best chess players ever, and that is Magnus Carlsen. And that one, he was playing in the Singfield Cup in St. Louis, and yeah, I didn't actually get to interact with him or any of the other grandmasters. They're
It's simply watching and
yeah,
being near greatness in that.
Exactly.
In that.
exactly. But I did get a chance to get a photo with Vishy Anand, who was world championship before Magnus
Oh, wow.
from India. Very nice gentleman, and yeah, we got the photo which we took with Conrado, friend of the
wow.
podcast, Conrado. So,
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
so
Have
yeah.
you received any communication in the last couple of minutes to see if anyone else might be joining you today?
Probably not. Yeah,
Okay.
if we heard anything, this would go off, and all that's. But
Oh, yes. I not trying to chide or anything. Just asking as a matter of course.
Right.
Just asking as a matter of course.
and in all fairness, at least he replied interested this time and not going. So yeah, just a little known fact. If you're actually going to show up to an event, you say you're going. If you're just on the fence, then you say interested.
One of the nuances of having an event on Facebook.
Yeah.
One of the nuances, but at least it's fairly clear communication there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, like I said, you're not making any sort of judgment there. Just saying
That's right.
here's the courtesy here, and I appreciate the fact that you indicated as interested in this case.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yep.
It's just a small, again, nuance to the invitation process on Facebook.
Right. So I got all that out of the way. Still watching all the Star Trek that's been coming out.
I am going to say that I was not impressed with the first episode of Star Trek Discovery in 2017, and I was hoping it was going to be a weekly broadcast, but that was just it was almost a teaser saying, please subscribe to what was known at that time as CBS All Access.
Well, it's Paramount now. So.
Paramount Plus, yes.
Yeah, Discovery, they're going to be starting their final season here shortly. So.
I have and haven't noticed. I am going to say heading into Star Trek Picard, I was less than enthused. And I am going to go ahead and mention a YouTube channel which I happen to appreciate very much. They are a group of gentlemen out of, I believe, Green Bay,
Okay.
Wisconsin. And the channel is called Red Letter Media. And they've been, I'm sure they've existed for more than 15 years on YouTube, but they generally review films and television series, and they dedicated, at least two of them are very strong viewers of the Next Generation. And for at least a couple seasons of Picard, they said, I can't even watch Next Generation right now. This has affected my ability to enjoy Star Trek The Next Generation. So unfortunately, as with so many things, my opinion is often informed by the opinion of others.
Right. Well, I really enjoyed all of Star Trek Picard, all 3 seasons of it. What's interesting about discovering Picard is there are different ways of storytelling than what we usually associate with Star Trek. Star Trek has tended to be more episodic. These 2 series are serialized, as in each season they are telling a whole complete story.
There are very few episodes that are standalone, or generally each episode is leading into the other, or at least, which, like I said, I haven't seen them. I'm going off of the opinions of others.
Right.
So I guess we are divided on our opinions of this.
That's perfectly fine.
Yes,
that's perfectly
yes,
fine.
yes. But the
Because
fact that
I am aware that in the online communities for Star Trek, there's a lot of the STD talk still. So,
which would be Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
The fact that it shares initials of a venereal disease is it is not missed, and it is certainly emphasized.
yeah.
I will simply default to an event that happened in '79, and I'm going to state my opinion and simply say that disco sucks.
Just because.
If you hadn't heard that, that's what I say, and I usually
No,
go.
I tend to agree. I'm not a fan of disco music either.
Okay.
So-
Well, it was short for
I
Discovery.
will.
But.
I will say with Picard. So season 2 falls a little time travel,
Yes.
and a nice shout outs to Star Trek 4.
Oh, interesting.
They brought the punk back on the bus.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Who? Interesting.
Same actor too.
Well, and the song, if I
Yeah,
understand.
he changed it around a little bit, but yeah, it's basically the same song.
But as far as I know, that was also composed and performed,
yeah,
and it was interesting. That was the concept of punk music that was presented.
yeah,
To run, it's like whether or not it was quite what you might call authentic. It, and I'm not going to go through the qualities of punk music, which
but clearly that punk remembered from the 80s.
Oh,
you
yes.
know, what happens if you don't turn off your boombox?
when requested.
You got I got Vulcan nerve pinch the first time, but this time around when 709 asked him, "Hey, could you please turn the music?" He's like, "Yeah, I really like that song, but okay, I apologize," and turn it off.
I like I said,
And the whole time he's grabbing his neck.
But
he clearly remembered what Spock had
the important
done.
thing is what we understand. Depending on who you want to talk to, canonically, that person survived. The pinch was not fatal,
No.
despite what
No, it just knocked you out.
any kind of ambiguity from. But Star Trek 4 is absolutely one of my favorites. Of course, Star Trek First Contact, which depends on who you want to talk to.
A lot of people say that is the best of the TNG movies, is First Contact. So.
And overall, unless you wanted to think of the movies based on the Next Generation to be their own continuity, or it was the 8th overall.
No, it's the eighth. It's the eighth movie overall.
So every fourth movie they are obligated, and then
JJ fucked it up.
Well, J.J. Abrams and started the Kelvin timeline, which is an entirely different thing, and whether or not I don't know.
Of which we will not speak.
Okay. There we go. Here's where we divide. I'm going to say I liked the second generation Corvette. I loved that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
back to the other Shrek series.
Off of here.
I'm loving Lower Decks.
Okay.
Yeah, Lower Decks, of course, animated, very much adults, but damn funny.
All right.
Right.
All right.
So, highly recommend
How many
Lower
seasons
Decks.
has that?
Lower Decks has gone. They just finished their fourth.
That is what I had thought. And if we are going to be speaking of Star Trek superfans, there is absolutely Seth MacFarlane out there.
Yeah.
What are your overall impressions of the Orville?
I've only seen the first two seasons of the Orville, and it's the best way I could describe it is it's kind of like Lower Decks, but live action. So.
And it walks the line between serious and comedy a little bit. There is a movie it's been 30 years now, more than 30 years now. I think you've heard of a film starring Wesley Snipes and Sylvester Stallone known as Demolition Man. The fact that they walk the line between a comedy and a action movie with such finesse, it cannot be understated.
Well, the striking feature of Demolition Man to me is that every single restaurant is a Taco Bell.
Yes, at least in the U.S. release and international releases, and there is another YouTube channel I have to mention, Minty Comedic Arts out of Australia.
I've seen a couple of his videos. Yeah.
In most other international markets, and this was a recent video that was done, most restaurants are now Pizza Hut instead of Taco Bell.
Pizza Hut and Taco Bell have the same corporate owner.
That's true, but
along with KFC.
Also true. It's just that Pizza Hut is present in more international markets, and I think it's still interesting in how many ways it.
Either way, Yum Foods owns all the restaurants in the future.
Oh yes, and it's interesting the way Pixar has been able to. Specifically, I'm thinking of Zootopia, and it has been 8 years since Zootopia was in theaters, but for each of the news segments, they had a different animal depending on where the feature was being shown. I'm having some trouble remembering what the creatures were in the U.S. market, but in the United Kingdom, they had corgis. So, just as an example.
All right, very good deal. So Lower Decks, I recommend. Prodigy, that's an interesting one. So
yes.
They did the first season on Paramount. Broke up, basically, it kind of felt like 2 seasons, really, because they broke it up like evenly, one half, and then the next year we get the other half. This is, of course, geared for kids.
And it's also, Lower Decks has the appearance of cell animation, even though everything is done digitally anymore.
Right.
But
Prodigy is definitely CG.
Yes, very polished. Very with a very strong appearance.
But even though it is geared towards kids, it is pretty good storytelling.
And what's interesting is could you please review with me the name of the actor who played Catherine Janeway?
That'd be Kate Mulgrew.
He also appears as a form of a hologram.
Well, she appears as both a hologram, a training hologram on the ship that these kids stole, the Protostar, and as Admiral Janeway at this point. So she's playing basically 2 different versions of Janeway.
Interesting.
In the series. Right?
Interesting. I thought this was set further in the future than that.
Just a little just a few years after Voyager.
Oh, interesting.
Right.
Interesting.
So yeah, and then of course you got Strange New Worlds.
Oh yes, which is interestingly they are trying to fit in the continuity of the original series.
Yeah.
The principal would be Captain Christopher
Pike.
Yeah, who was the first commander of the Enterprise, and review with me what the name of the original pilot was for the original series.
Okay, so the original pilot was called The Cage. The story was they get a distress call from a planet called Talos 4. They get there, they find what seems to be a colony of these humans that got shipwrecked and everything, but it turns out it's all an illusion because the Talosians have ginormous brains and can mess with reality and everything. They basically wanted to put Captain Pike in a zoo. Right? Now this pilot was S-canned by NBC at the time.
Deemed too cerebral.
Deemed too cerebral. So, okay, we like the concepts, but we got to change things around. And Jeffrey Hunter, who originally played Captain Pike, was approached to reprise the role, but his wife said, "No, he's a big movie star. He should be doing movies, not this blah blah blah."
So he
Opened the door for Shatner.
Yes, and what's interesting is that later on they did show scenes from The Cage in a later episode, a 2-part episode,
The Menagerie.
where
This is where he gets Captain Pike in the chair.
yes,
Beep once for yes, twice for no.
and basically we see that he's been significantly injured
Yeah.
and basically Strange New Worlds, this is meant to be a prequel with him, and there have been scenes in Strange New Worlds that show that he understands this.
Well, season 2 of Discovery sets all that up because, as remember from the first time we talked here on the podcast, that Pike was in command of Discovery for all season 2 of Discovery, and that's where he gets the visions. When he picks up a Klingon time crystal, that if I do this, this is what's going to happen to me. I'm going to put myself in danger, save all these cadets. I'm going to wind up in the BP chair, and I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. Knowing this, he knows I need this time crystal for this mission, so I'm going to take it anyway, knowing that this is going to happen. And clearly that sticks with him throughout Strange New Worlds to the point they're at 2 seasons later. And clearly it does affect him from time to time, this knowledge, but that has not really compromised his ability to command. So, and of course, big shout out to Anson Mounts, the actor who plays Pike now, and our fellow podcaster, and I will go and say this, The Well podcast was a major inspiration for this podcast to get started.
Oh, the podcast called
The Well.
Okay. Oh, thank you. But I was also saying, was that the inspiration for Winning Side Coaches or this current podcast?
This current podcast,
Okay.
because Winning Side, you'll recall, was a sports podcast.
Oh, yes. But the thing is that we still have to say, regardless, that this podcast, it's uncalled for.
Yes.
Unprovoked.
And you've heard the story of how I came up with the name, right?
Please review it.
Okay, so
I'd love to hear that.
how, and this is good for anyone who's new to this podcast is Uncalled For. It got its name from my very first podcast, Sunflower Brew. We had a tradition, and I still kind of have this tradition of taking photos with our guests. And one particular guest we had was Reggie Marcellus. Reggie was running for Congress at the time. And we took a photo, the three of us, me, Zach, the host, and myself, as one of my favorite Duke hoodie. And one of the comments said, "Michael Chernovsky, that sweatshirt is uncalled for." So when it came time for me to think about starting this podcast, I thought, well, that's pretty funny.
Yes.
And I do kind of want an element of humor in this podcast. So let's make the whole podcast Uncalled For.
Interestingly, just to review when they said that the hoodie was uncalled for, the fact that Duke is a significant rival with the University of Kansas. Am I understanding
They are
that correctly?
not. They are not significant rivals in this. Duke plays in the ACC, and the Chicken Hawks are in the the Big 12 or whatever number they're at now. Because no, Duke's big rival is North Carolina.
I just meant in terms of
But there are significant ties between North Carolina and Kansas.
okay. I was just trying to understand the.
And I should point out that the comment was made by a Kansas fan. So
Oh, that's all I'm saying, is that
Mm-hmm.
is that someone who was a fan of the University of Kansas took exception to the fact that you were wearing a hoodie for Duke University.
yeah.
That just,
I own similar hoodies for the University of Missouri, Kansas City, which I have a very good reason for owning those particular hoodies,
but because you are a graduate of the University.
because I am a graduate of the University of Missouri, Kansas City.
And you cannot wait for the
Just
streetcar
make
line
the
to go
tournament at least once.
And which division?
UMKC's D1,
Okay.
Summit League.
Oh,
We did spend a little time in the WAC, the Western Athletic Conference, which was our the only chance we had at any postseason play at all was in the WAC. Granted, we did lose to the eventual champions that year of that tournament, which would have been the University of Wyoming. But we've never made the big dance. And the only way we're ever going to make the big dance is win the Summit League tournaments. And we have yet to do that. We didn't win the WAC tournament either when we were there. And by the way, the Summit League was called the Mid-Con when I was a student there. Yep.
I will say that at some point you are almost speaking a language that is more than a few degrees foreign to me.
Right. And of course, this is the same University of Missouri, Kansas City, which will be the southern terminus of the KC streetcar line when that
Do you
gets
have
done.
much involvement with the University of, with UMKC?
I still get the alumni emails from time to time, and sad that they closed down their community program, because that was a good program.
Community University.
Community, yeah, it is basically just classes you could take for fairly cheap. They weren't for credit or anything, but you could learn some pretty cool skills and all that. So yeah.
Do you still have much involvement with Johnson County Community College?
Also not quite, but my tax dollars do help the place out. And of course, we have votes every couple of years on some of the board of trustees. So,
That's right.
yeah. Yeah. So yeah.
I don't have too much to talk about as far as my life goes. I work a full-time job. I pay my taxes too, but I live as a tenant. I don't live as a property owner. So
Yeah.
I although I'm certain that some of my sales taxes certainly go to things, and of course I pay my property tax on my personal vehicle every year. So there's that.
Yeah, I'll be writing a check for my vehicle tax here soon. I got a check for state income tax just a couple of days ago, and had to write a check for federal income tax. And I have to save a bunch of money for car repairs right now. So, yeah, car repairs ain't cheap.
No.
All right. So
Are you still looking for any sponsors for your podcast?
always, they still have not happened. If you want to sponsor the podcast, let me know. I will gladly listen to any and all offers. But as of this recording, no one has come forward with a sponsorship. And again, another way that could help with that is subscribe to the podcast and share it with your friends. 'Cause, yeah.
I think a couple of things on historical notes is that both you and I were involved with in the improvisational troupe at Johnson County Community College.
Yep.
That was how you and I first became friends, and that's been more than 30 years now. Or sorry, 20 years. We're not quite that old. My goodness. There's a difference between the 90s and the year 2000.
2000s.
And my math is terrible right now, so I meant to say it's been about 20 years since our involvement with that.
Yeah, it was 20 years this year.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, well, the end of that
No, the
troupe.
beginning of the, yeah.
Yes. But
Because, it would have been, I was just starting to work security at the time, too, so it would have been early 2004.
and you would have been working with Kansas City Public Television at that time, or you?
No, that was later.
That was later.
That was
Okay.
2012.
Okay, my goodness. We've been Facebook friends for a while, but I need to look back and review some of those fun things. What are some of and like I said, I know you're the host here, but I want to go ahead and say.
I've been to Johnson County like 3 different times, if that helps. So,
Okay. What, looking over the last 5 years that this podcast has been uncalled for,
yeah.
anything that sticks in your mind specifically?
Just I have a wide variety of friends that have been on this podcast, and I continue to welcome them, and adds to this podcast, which really, if you stop to think about it, is my midlife crisis.
Oh,
Because,
goodness.
I did start this podcast when I turned 40,
Oh, wow.
you know. And, just have it out there, out in the ether for anyone to listen to. And if they do, then wow, this dude is led an interesting life. And there's a lot to talk about. So,
Well, yes, just as a matter of speaking, just to the fact that you have a lot of associates and you have a lot of community involvement. You besides the Fringe Festival, the fact that you worked at Kansas City Public Television for a few years, you've been involved with what is the program out of the community college?
on the JCAF program,
Yes, go ahead and, it's the.
that's just student TV. So
Oh,
then it's-
okay. There wasn't not so much the involvement with the journalism department. Although,
But it is part of the journalism department. Yeah.
But also your involvement with mentoring chess, but also the fact that you've also been part of the local film community.
And still am, really. So,
Okay.
although I will be honest, I haven't been doing much filmmaking lately for obvious reasons. One of the not so obvious reasons is you may notice I have a new machine in front of me.
Oh, I had not.
Yeah. And Adobe and Apple kind of messed up because now I can't use the stuff that I purchased back in 2012 to make media because it is now considered outdated.
Oh, this architecture does not support it.
Yeah.
Or is it more the
Now, if I want to use anything Adobe, you have to pay a subscription. F that. I paid over $200-300 back in 2012 to use the Adobe Suite as it was with everything, and I can't do that right now
because it's being consumed by car repairs, etc.
Yeah.
And you were just against a subscription model, which a lot of stuff is going to a subscription
that is
model.
bullshit.
Oh, yes. I have to mention.
Microsoft comes to mind too. Microsoft Office, that's now on a subscription basis, and not a fan of that either because that also costs money.
There is another YouTube channel that I have to mention. If you've never heard of Louis Rossman, fantastic guy. He actually started about 12 years ago repairing MacBooks, and he was in New York City for a very long time. Within the last 3 years has relocated to Austin, Texas, simply because he got tired of the bureaucratic mess in New York City. And he is a advocate for right to repair and against a lot of subscription-based.
Right.
I recommend his channel if you haven't taken a look at it.
I have not, so I will definitely take a look at it.
Rossman has 2 S's and 2 N's.
Okay.
And Lewis is spelled the French way.
All right.
I highly recommend that channel as well. I'm sure there are there's also another fun YouTube channel that I love very much called Hoovy's Garage. Tyler Hoover out of Wichita, and there are 2 channels that he will often appear on, is the Car Wizard and the Car Ninja, both located near either Newton or Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Yeah. I spend too much of my time watching YouTube. You inspire me by being someone who's actively creating stuff, and so I appreciate your efforts, and I appreciate being part of them today.
All right, and I appreciate you being a part of this podcast from really the very beginning, because you were one of my first 8 asks, including Lucas. Dan came at Lucas's invitation, and Mr. Pat Lamb as well was actually my very first guest. So,
Oh, very nice.
yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up this 5th year anniversary edition of the podcast, and let's do a revisiting of my top podcasts that are not mine. So we're just going to do a top 5 today. I have time considerations, but it goes number 1, The Well, the podcast that's kind of inspired this podcast. So Anson and Brandon, thank you guys for offering the inspiration to do so. For those who haven't been listening, definitely check it out. It's focused primarily on creativity, and I found about it because I am a Trekkie, and Anson Mounts does play Captain Christopher Pike. And there are a couple of Trek-related episodes in the podcasts, but I would once again recommend the episode Martini Samurai, which will give you some idea of what a drunk Christopher Pike would sound like. Don't get me wrong, I love her. I think she's a lovely person, but at the end of the day, and I hope someone says it's about me, who gives a shit? Alright, so number 1, The Well. Number 2, a podcast you'll be hearing us talk about during the course of season 7, and that is New Heights, Travis and Jason Kelsey. I started listening, of course, right after Travis and Taylor went public. What the fuss is all about, and honestly, it's a very good podcast, and one that has been winning a lot of awards lately, and deservedly so. Travis and Jason do a great job, and of course, I got to point out my contribution. Completely accidental and kind of related to this podcast. I've told the story already. I was in Edwardsville picking Conrado up for a club one night, and just happened to stop by the restaurant and learned about the sandwich. I didn't order a sandwich then, but thought, oh, this is pretty cool. Does it have anything to do with the podcast? And then I took a snap of the menu item, posted it to Reddit, and then the very next Wednesday, when those episodes come out, is hearing Travis, Taylor Swift's boyfriend, reading my words pretty much verbatim, although he did butcher my names. And So I am responsible for his unholy mayo whipping ASMR noises. But it is definitely a fun podcast to listen to, and even if you, especially if you're a fan of American football. But even if you're not, just give it a listen. Other segments I would suggest listening to, they got into an argument over the question, how many holes does a straw have? Are you team one hole or team two holes? And that digresses into, a taco's a sandwich! A fucking burrito's a sandwich! And another segment I would strongly suggest listening to is Jason giving a synopsis of the Twilight movies. It's so painfully detailed and driving Travis crazy. Despite Jason being, well, I'm team, this movie shouldn't exist. Definitely check that out. Number 3, the podcast version of an oldie but goodie, for me at least, and that's Countdown with Keith Olbermann. I used to watch Olbermann on a fairly regular basis when he was still on MSNBC, and really liked, especially liked his Worst Persons in the World segment, and especially liked it when he named Bill O'Reilly Worst Person in the World. So he's still doing that. Not so much for Bill anymore, but doing it for other idiots out there. And using his podcast to talk about stories that he hadn't really told, mostly about his career in TV and radio and so on. We finally heard the backstory of the famous Boston Market Eat Something commercial. They fell off a cliff and sprained a few muscles during that shoot. Yeah, good stuff. So Countdown with Keith Olbermann, number 3. Number 4, the Delta Flyers, Garrett Wong and Robert Duncan McNeil. It's basically it started off as a Voyager rewatch between two members of the Voyager casts. These are the actors who played Harry Kim and Tom Paris, respectively. So they took upon themselves to rewatch all of Voyager. They have since finished Voyager and now watching Deep Space Nine. So credit to them. Keep up the good work, guys. And number 5 on this list, I could go a number of different ways, but I will go with Conduct Detrimental. Done by it's a sports law podcast done by 2 sports lawyers, Dan Lust and Daniel Wallach. And I highly recommend they did so that no one in sports media has really, certainly national sports media has really taken the time to do, and that's go in depth with the whole St. Louis NFL lawsuit. They devoted hours just to that lawsuit. I highly recommend listen to them, especially if you're outside of St. Louis. You probably haven't heard some of the stuff that we learned from the lawsuits. Everything you probably don't know, some of the backstory of what happened. But I do highly recommend it. They talk about other cases too that relate to sports, but definitely check out all the stuff they talk about St. Louis. And that's going to do it. This is a very long one. I don't know if we got to Twilight Imperium long, but it is a pretty long episode of the podcast. And now is a great time to wrap this up. So this podcast is Uncalled For. It's hosted, produced, and edited by myself, Mike Chernevsky, as it has been for the past 5 years and will be for as long as I want to keep doing this. All right. Special thanks to our guests, Heather Marie and Chris Hertz, for today's episode. Our opening music is Iron Bacon by Kevin MacLeod and Compotech.com, licensed under Creative Commons, attribution license. Our additional music today includes Cold Hard Facts by Kevin MacLeod and Compotech.com, licensed under Creative Commons, attribution license. And Hibiki ga Koke Kiko Eru Pacific Echoes by Piers Murphy, licensed under Creative Commons attribution license and available at freemusicarchive.org. Then we have In the Club by Anthem of Rain, licensed under Creative Commons by attribution 4.0 international license. Also can be found at freemusicarchive.org. And lastly, Starting Over, which you could find at freestockmusic.com. Special thanks to everyone who has appeared or helped with this podcast over the past 5 years. Y'all are welcome to come back at any time. Just let me know first, of course. And yeah, let's try to make it 5 more. Take care, and we will talk to you next time.
If you are in the United States or Canada, you can call us at 816-832-5160. Leave your message or question for us, and if we like it, we will play it on the podcast. Please support the podcast and purchase our exclusive Uncalled For merchandise. T-shirts, sweatshirts, mugs, stickers, and so much more. Go to www.cafepress.com/uncalledforpod. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you next time.